Call the special meeting of the Municipal Council for Tuesday, May 31st to order. I'd ask you please stand and join in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Again, if you have a phone or similar device, I would ask you this time that you please turn it off so that will not interfere with our broadcast to other parts of the city. This time I'd ask our city clerk, Mr. Withers, to please read the notice for the special meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May 24th, 2016, to the members of Municipal Council from Frank Cook, Council President. Councilors, by authority of Article 2, Section 2-7C of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, I hereby call for a special meeting of the Municipal Council as follows. Date, Tuesday, May 31st, 2016, time 7 p.m., place, council chambers. The purpose is the mayor's presentation of fiscal year 17 budgets and associated matters and any other legal matter that may come before the council. CC Mayor Kevin J. Dumas.
Thank you. So at this time I would ask the mayor to please come forward and make his presentations regarding the FY17 budgets. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the Municipal Council. Today, May 31st, 2016. Frank B. Cook, Council President, Municipal Council, City Hall, Government Center, 77 Park Street. Regarding the fiscal 2017 general government budget. Dear President Cook and honorable municipal councilors, I respectfully submit herewith the City of Attleboro's annual budget for fiscal year 2017. The attached budget totals $125,552,083.90, which represents a 1.28% increase from fiscal year 2016's revised budget. While the development of this budget was a challenge in meeting the demands of a small but growing city, coupled with the fact of a minimal increase in Chapter 70 education funding, I remain steadfast in my commitment to providing excellent services in all city departments. To that end, this was accomplished by continuing to keep a steady hand on the city's finances, by projecting revenues that produce stable results rather than risky decisions that could lead to future instability of the city. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through its Division of Local Services, has made it clear that municipalities should have target balances for stabilization fund in its annual free cash. This shows sound fiscal policy and the ability to handle emergency needs or economic downturns. As we have followed true to these principles, the City of Attleboro holds a AA bond rating from the Standard & Poor's rating service, and this rating is the second highest possible for any municipality. According to Standard & Poor's, it reflects strong management with good financial management policies and practices. This budget was the most challenging budget to create in my administration, given several factors. First and foremost, this budget reflects an ongoing commitment to invest in our education system. For the third year in a row, this budget reflects a school appropriation that is above the net school spending requirement. This year, that amount will be $2,001,500 above the minimum spending requirement. This number reflects our original commitment of $1 million above the minimum spending requirement, plus an additional $800,000 from the increase in the tax levy, and an additional $201,500 transferred from the non-net school spending line item for transportation, as per changes in the transportation policy enacted by the school committee, into the general school appropriation for fiscal year 2017. In addition to the $2,001,500, I have also funded the one-time expense for technology improvements of $112,000 that will make recurring dollars available for other budgetary needs. Furthermore, I have also allocated funding in the amount of $390,000 for the replacement of 3 boilers at Hill Roberts, Hyman Fine, Willett, and 2 hot water tanks at Brennan and Wamsutta. That will, in essence, free up $65,000 in recurring maintenance dollars that will be repurposed into other budget areas that are needed. So addressing these technology and capital issues, it will repurpose a total of $177,000 towards other educational needs in fiscal 2017 without causing fiscal instability in future budget years for the school. Second, and as you are all well aware, it is critical that the Commonwealth re-examine how it funds our education needs. The current formula, as we know it, certainly is broken, and it fails to take into consideration factors that have emerged since 1993 that are very different, especially in the areas of special education, English language learners, and municipal health insurance cost. While I remain hopeful, certainly, that the recommendations of the Foundation Budget Review Commission that I sat on will be adopted by the legislature for those recommendations, that will certainly result in a new funding formula that would have a positive impact on cities like Attleboro. I ask you that you join me in the continued effort to have the governor and the state legislature push to make those changes in the formula and fund our needs of our education system. I am hopeful that School Committee Chairman Withers and incoming Superintendent Sawyer, along with their respective associations, will lead the way with me and the Massachusetts Municipal Association to mount a statewide effort in order to get this accomplished. In the meantime, for fiscal 2017, I made a policy change that dedicates 50% of the increase in the tax levy to the school department this year and in future years until the state education formula is corrected. This will allow the school department to begin the budget with more certainty and not have the major ebbs and flows in knowing what revenues could actually be counted on. Contracts negotiated should fall in line with expected revenue in order to avoid peaks and valleys without impacting direct student services. This realignment is crucial in order to avoid a circumstance as certainly seen this year. Moving forward, I fully expect all city and school contracts to be negotiated with a complete understanding of realistic available dollars. In addition, I will be invoking my right under Chapter 150E, Section 1, to participate and vote as a member of the school committee for collective bargaining purposes. Third, following the release of the governor's budget submittal for fiscal 17, the city needed to overcome a $2 million shortfall. In order to overcome this initial shortfall, a decision was made to cover the snow deficits in the amount of $959,126.37. In addition, I made a request of the Board of Assessors to release excess overlay funds that were deemed available in the amount of $224,943.88. The balance was made up of reductions in expenses from requested budgets, decisions not to backfill open positions, and the delayed hiring of required public safety positions in fiscal 2017. In order to provide the additional funding of $800,000 to fund the school department, there were reductions in force that were required. This impacts the departments of clerk, elections, collector, treasurer, inspection, DPW Highway Division, library, and park and forestry, as referenced in the salary sheets located in the rear section of this budget submittal. The remaining balance was satisfied by updating local projections. Fourth, this budget reflects the reality of the ever-increasing cost of health insurance, and although this recommended budget reflects only a 4.2% increase over revised budgets, there will be a need for additional funding after quarterly reviews for fiscal 2017. With that said, we will be proposing changes to our health insurance program over the next bargaining cycle that should save the city money moving forward and help towards our other post-employment benefit liability. Moreover, as part of this budget, there will be a refund due to the city and the specific health plan participants. City has never adopted Mass General Law 32B Section 8A, which allows the city to make such a refund, 75% to the city, 25% to the participants. This law must be adopted as part of the process, as this one-time funding is being allocated to pay for those one-time expenses for the school department for technology and capital issues that I mentioned. Fifth, to help offset the second installment of the fiscal 15 snow deficit as well as the fiscal 16 snow deficit, I'm recommending that the city temporarily utilize $959,126.37 from our stabilization fund. It is my intention, as I have done in the past, to return these funds back to the stabilization fund once free cash is certified in the fall. This has been explained to the bond rating agency and is expected. As you will notice, this budget also reflects several important changes that are designed to help provide our services more efficiently. For example, in the inspection department, the city will be rolling out online permitting processes that will save staff time, reduce paper, improve scheduling, and speed up the permitting process. The cost for these improvements can be found in the software and maintenance of software line items in the Department of Budget and Administration. In Park and Forestry, the retirement of Sonny Almeida on December 31st, 2016, will provide us with an opportunity to utilize the Director of Recreation, Dennis Walsh, to oversee the Park and Forestry Department for the remainder of fiscal 2017 without any cost to the city. At the conclusion of fiscal 17, we will review and evaluate whether any permanent efficiencies can be made. As times are difficult in fiscal 17, the cost of the Memorial Day Parade has been excluded in the 17 budget for 1 year. However, I am actively pursuing a private donation so this important event can still continue. Finally, you will notice that I have included in this budget presentation the school committee's approved line item budget with the corresponding salary sheets. I encourage all of you to review these documents as part of your budget review process. Like last year, we took a look at revolving funds to determine if there's any opportunity to shift expenses, and we did so. The Assistant Zoo Director has been shifted off of general government from the Department of Park and Forestry and placed in the Zoo Revolving Fund. While we've not had an increase in the solid waste collection program since fiscal 2013, the fee will increase as proposed from $184 today to $202.68 in fiscal year 2017. This cost increase is mainly due to the increase in our solid waste collection contract that impacts fiscal year 2017. Our residents enjoy the benefits of a comprehensive program that enables them to receive curbside rubbish and recycling pickup, including 1 additional bulk item, curbside metal pickup, 2 free television disposals per year, our compost center, household hazardous waste monthly, the recycling center drop-off for tires, battery, propane tanks, metals and cardboard, 4 weeks of yard waste collection at the curb, Christmas tree curbside collection, and the cleanup of targeted littered areas across the city. Certainly proud to have such a comprehensive solid waste program that remains certainly be one of the best in the Commonwealth. While this budget process certainly has presented its challenges, we are tasked to move forward and to continue our work. I'm confident that we can achieve our goals through cooperation, transparency, and open, respectful dialogue. As you may recall, the current school budget issue is similar to which occurred back in fiscal 2010 to all non-school departments. It was during this time when city departments, non-school, experienced state funding reductions, while the school department was held harmless. In response to that crisis, all non-school unions and exempt employees came together and agreed to a voluntary, one-time 4% departmental reduction. It is in that same spirit of cooperation that I remain hopeful that the school unions will be able to reach a similar result and protect the children of our district. My position tasked me with the responsibility of providing a wide range of services that fits the needs of the general public. A great deal of effort has gone into preparing a budget that responsibly and realistically continues the many citywide services that our citizens need. I hope that you will join me in thanking the members of my staff and department heads who do recognize the reality of limited funds and the sacrifices they have made and that everyone continues to make. To that end, I wish to publicly thank your honorable body, as well as the many dedicated employees who make this budget possible and the employees who help make the city great every day. Respectfully submitted, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you. And then you also have the enterprise budget to present this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, May 31st, 2016, to Frank B. Cook, Municipal Council President. Dear President Cook and honorable municipal councilors, in accordance with Chapter 44, 53F and a half of the Massachusetts General Laws, I respectfully submit herewith my proposed fiscal 2017 Water Enterprise Fund budget of $6,694,338.22 and the Wastewater Enterprise budget of $9,629,492.75. The fiscal 2017 Water Enterprise Fund budget represents a 5% increase from the 2016 approved budget. Although the fiscal 17 Water Department budget reflects a decrease of total debt service of $136,989.95 from the 16 approved budget, the cost of operating a 21st century water department has risen. Most notably are the projected increases for utility costs, lights and power, professional services for the Wading River scraping of the filter beds, and supplies. The net effect of these rising costs is an overall budgetary increase of $269,679.89 over the 16 approved budget. Our favorable balance in the water retained earnings has allowed us to utilize a modest amount to help offset these rising costs. However, and in order to help avoid a revenue deficit in fiscal 17, I am recommending a water rate increase of 18 cents or 4.03%. Like your honorable body, I am ever mindful of the burden any rate increase poses on our residents. In fact, I'm proud of the fact that we have not had a water rate increase since fiscal year 2013. However, I am also mindful that providing our residents with clean, safe, reliable drinking water remains one of the most city's vital services. I am pleased to report that the fiscal 2017 wastewater enterprise fund budget represents a 3% decrease from the 16 approved budget. However, due to a projected decrease in sewer usage and billable gallons, an appropriation from the retained earnings will be required, and our favorable balance in the wastewater retained earnings allows us to utilize a modest amount to help maintain the current wastewater rate with no increase. To achieve this objective, an appropriation therefore is requested in the amount of $73,809.02 from the wastewater retained earnings. With your honorable body's approval, we will have the continued philosophy of using available retained earnings in both enterprise departments towards capital projects and one-time expenditures. In the water department, this has included the design for improvements to the Luther Reservoir Pumping Station, the continuation of our water meter replacement program, most recently, an asset management plan for the city's water distribution system, and the water tank improvements to the Idetail water tank. In the wastewater department, this is included an emergency repair on the sewer main interceptor located at the end of Grant Street, an emergency bypass pump that was purchased, as well as the reconstruction of 2 biofilters located at the wastewater treatment plant. We have, and we will continue to carefully scrutinize all the expenditures by these 2 enterprise departments, and the continued financial viability of these 2 vital municipal services depends on our skillful and forthright stewardship, and I look forward to discussing these budgets with your honorable body. Respectfully submitted, Kevin Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you. So the mayor's going to be distributing these booklets to all council members. Just a reminder to all councilors, the budget meetings will be continuing Thursday night, and on Thursday night, among those scheduled to appear is the mayor to talk about the budget as well as citywide and other things. Okay, so I'm prepared for that particular evening. Steve, you need something?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
They're getting thicker as the school's included.
Okay. Going to go on to a reading of the mayor's communication this evening.
May 31st, 2016, dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit to your honorable body of the City of Attleboro's general government annual budget for fiscal year 2017.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please. And Mr. Blair, you want to pull, get Ms. Hegden back in here, please? Okay, item 1 is referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and Madam Chair, this matter requires a public hearing. I'm going to ask that we call for a public hearing on Tuesday, June 21st.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Hearing on the budget will be on Tuesday, June 21st. Thank you.
I respectfully request your honorable body, under the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as amended, to approve for fiscal year 2017 the reauthorization with continuing balances of the following departmental revolving funds in the amounts indicated and with the conditions as specified.
I'm going to ask Mr. Withers just to read the name of the account and the amount of money, because we'll be getting into where the income comes from and how it's expended during the budgetary process.
Okay. Animal shelter expenditure limit $6,000, and that's account 2615. Kicking Park Zoo expenditure limit, $1,100,000. That's 2607. City property expenditure limit, $50,000. That is 2612. Council on Aging expenditure limit, $20,000. It's 2606. Fire ambulances expenditure limit, $1,100,000, and that is now 2610. Fire alarm system expenditure limit, $40,000. That's 2609. Health immunization expenditure limit, $10,000. That's 2611. Parking administration expenditure limit, $250,000. That's 2602. Police vehicles expenditure limit, $280,000. 2601. Police false alarm expenditure limit, $50,000. It's 2616. Police canine expenditure limit, $10,000. 2617. Recreation expenditure limit, $175,000. That is 2614. Special disposal expenditure limit, $700,000. 2604. And protective inspection services expenditure limit, $65,000. That is 2603.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
In order to provide sufficient income to fund the proposed fiscal year 2017 budget for the solid waste program, I respectfully request that Section 7-8.1 solid waste collection fee of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro be amended to establish a charge of $202.68 per year from residential dwellings of 1 through 8 units, as well as a per bag cost of $2 effective July 1st, 2016. Furthermore, I hereby request your honorable body to hold a public hearing at the appropriate time on the above ordinance change.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please. And Madam Chair, this matter requires a public hearing. Looking at calling a special meeting on Tuesday, June 14th for that hearing.
How many are on that day? Are there
There'll only be 2.
two? Okay.
At the moment, that'll be the first one.
Okay.
Right? So moved?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That hearing will be on the 14th.
With reference to the Title V Betterment Loan Program, I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $5,669 from Fund 2500, which is receipts reserved for appropriation Title V Reserve Fund, to the general fund to provide funding for fiscal year 2017.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
I am pleased to present to your honorable body the proposed water and wastewater enterprise budgets for fiscal year 2017.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please. And again, this is a matter that requires a public hearing, which is called for a public hearing on Tuesday, June 21st.
I would.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So the hearings on the general budget and the enterprise funds will be on Tuesday, June 21st. And that's due to advertising requirements. Thank you.
In order to provide the sufficient income to fund the proposed fiscal year 2017 budget for the water enterprise, I respectfully request that Section 16-11.2 water rates of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro be amended to establish a water rate of $4.65 per 100 cubic feet, with a minimum charge for each 3 months of $23.25 for the first 500 cubic feet, effective July 1st, 2016. Furthermore, I hereby request your honorable body to hold a public hearing at the appropriate time on the above ordinance change.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please. And again, this matter requires a public hearing. So I'd like to call for that, Madam Chair, on Tuesday, June 14th. That would be the second one on that night.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. That hearing will be on the 14th. I will be calling for in fact, I will have Ken distribute before this evening's over, so that you don't have to worry about the police coming to your door, those of you who are worried about that, regarding a special meeting on Tuesday, June 14th, for those 2 matters. So just make sure you see Ken before the evening's over to put your notice on those. Thank you.
I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $87,910.69 from account Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to fund the fiscal 2017 Water Enterprise budget.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
For your information, we have been able to provide wastewater services at no increased cost in the rate structure. Therefore, there is no need to change the ordinance for the wastewater rate for...
So many people out there who want to volunteer and find a way in which they can help.
We've got some brilliant people that have come out of the school system here in Attleboro.
You actually perform as an elected official the way
Fiscal year 2017 wastewater enterprise budget.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $189,990.65 from account wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings to fund the wastewater betterment's share of debt in the fiscal year 2017 budget.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
As you are aware, a portion of the water and wastewater enterprise fiscal year 2017 budgets includes an indirect cost allocation that is used to pay for costs incurred within the general government budget. In accordance with the indirect rates established by the Abrams Group, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $759,844.40 from Fund Water Enterprise Fund to the General Government Fund to fund the indirect cost for fiscal year 2017. The dollar amount presented is from the fiscal year 2017 budget book. Please note this figure includes the OPEB contribution and all debt expenses. I also hereby request your honorable body to transfer $596,013.83 from Fund Wastewater Enterprise Fund to the General Government Fund to provide funding for the indirect cost of the fiscal year 2017 budget. The dollar amount presented is from the fiscal 2017 budget book. This required transfer also excludes the OPEB contribution and the expenses associated with debt.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please. And Madam Chair, and also Ken, make mention of, these will require two separate motions on that instead of one. Okay, thank you.
On June 2nd, 2015, your honorable body voted to accept the provisions of Chapter 10, Section 58 of the Acts of 2015, amortizing the 2015 snow deficit over a period of 3 years. The first year of the amortization schedule was raised on the fiscal year 2016 tax recapitulation. The second year of the amortization schedule is due in the amount of $444,756.37. As such, I respectfully request for your honorable body to appropriate $444,756.37 from Fund 8455 Stabilization Fund to the fiscal year 2017 general government budget to cover this cost. It is my intention to return these funds back to the stabilization fund once free cash is certified in the fall of 2016.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
In order to cover the fiscal year 2016 snow deficit, I respectfully request your honorable body to appropriate $514,370 from Fund Stabilization Fund to the fiscal year 2017 general government budget. It is my intention to return these funds to the stabilization fund once free cash is certified in the fall of 2016.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 25, the Attleboro Board of Assessors has released $224,943.88 from allowance account from the following fiscal years. Fiscal year 1997, $1,814.25. Fiscal year 1998, $3,314.94. Fiscal year 1999, $1,610.34. Fiscal year 2000, $3,468.88. Fiscal year 2001, $4,175.24. Fiscal year 2003, $50,560.23. Fiscal year 2004, $30,000. Fiscal year 2005, $45,000. Fiscal year 2006, $30,000. Fiscal year 2007, $55,000. Please find the enclosed vote of the Board of Assessors releasing $224,943.88 of available surplus overlay to the city. In accordance with the proper procedures, upon release, excess allowance for abatement funds are transferred into the fund balance reserve for overlay surplus account and can be appropriated for any lawful purpose. Therefore, I respectfully request your honorable body to appropriate $224,943.88 from account General Fund, Fund Balance Reserve for Overlay Surplus, to account Fund Balance Reserve for Expenditures to fund the fiscal year 2017 budget.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
As outlined in the budget message, the proposed fiscal year 17 appropriation for the school department includes $502,000 of one-time expenses. Some of these expenses will provide ongoing budgetary relief to the school department and maintenance costs annually. In order to fund the $502,000, a one-time non-recurring revenue has been included in the local receipts. The source of this one-time revenue is the city's proportionate share of a refund of Blue Care Elect Preferred Deductible Program revenues in the Health Insurance Trust Fund, which will be refunded. Plan participants of the Blue Care Elect Preferred Deductible Program will also receive a proportionate refund for plan years 2009-2010. In order to complete the administrative tasks needed for this refund, the city solicitor has determined Section 8A of Mass General Law 32B need to be accepted. Please see a memo from City Auditor Deborah Gould regarding this matter. I respectfully request your honorable body to accept the motion as prepared by City Solicitor Robert Mangiarati as follows. Proposed motion to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 8A. Motion that the City of Attleboro accept Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 8A, which establishes an employee's group insurance trust to hold dividends, their equivalent, and other such refunds accepted by the city from the carrier or carriers as a result of any policy or policies entered into under the authority of Chapter 32B. And when such funds exceed the total administrative costs of such policies, allows the city to transfer the appropriate revenue accounts that portion of the remaining balances which represent the city's proportionate share of the policy premium cost of the policy year to which the dividend or refund is attributable, and to pay to insured members a proportionate refund. Please note that acceptance of this law is required in order to balance the fiscal year 2017 general government budget. This measure requires a majority vote of the municipal council and the approval of the mayor.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you. And we have one other communication.
Yes, we do. It's a communication received about concerns with the city's proposed fiscal year 17 school budget from Francis Aaron Brown, Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, and also this will be included in the notebook that was set up for that purpose of containing all these letters that we've, and other communications we've received regarding the budget for this year.
And that is all.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to the committee reports. And we will be, not going to be calling everybody on those that we actually have this evening, because we've already called for committee meetings and so forth. So just want to let you know, Council. Okay, so we will begin with Councilor Hall.
Alrighty. Yes, President and council members, I do have from the docket of April 5th, I move to approve the petition from Albedo Realty Incorporated to rezone the property located at 67 Mechanic Street, more specifically, Assessors Lot number 102C, containing a land area of approximately 8.85 acres on plat number 41, from industrial to general residence A.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
I do have a few comments. I know that there was some concerns about our dwindling, or perceived dwindling industrial availability. However, when I did go, and I actually went to the corporate park, and I went and visited the industrial park here in Attleboro, one of the things that I did recognize that the majority of industrial design tends to be a single-floored factory, if you would. And I have actually pictures from both of those areas that show very sprawling, single floor. And I actually went to Larson Tool and went online and looked at Larson Tool, and again, it's a new facility, and it is a raised sort of factory, if you would. But what happens, or what seems to be happening, and this was verified by our Director of Planning, is that people or industry, when they do come in here, are not looking to a brick building, an immobile brick building, something that's hard to take down, if you would, or to redevelop into the way they want to do business. So what normally happens is they will rebuild And you can see these things all over the industrial parks. They look like corrugated warehouses. And I think there might have been 2 buildings in the industrial park that were 2 stories, only 2. And the place where there were 2 stories looked as though it was just a small section of that to house some personnel, and then the rest of it was warehouse. So it does kind of ring true with that. So I did want to make that comment that this particular building, it's 125 years old also, probably not going to have somebody that's going to come in and want to use that facility. So for that particular reason, in terms of it being an industrial asset, I don't think it's probably the most appropriate industrial asset. Then if you think about the traffic that would be created if you did fill that building with, you know, tenants, if you would, and maybe a factory downstairs. If you picture, if anybody can remember the old Flintstones movie or show where they pulled the, you know, the tail of the bird and it squawked and millions of people went flying out. I mean, you could probably envision that on that beautiful, quiet street that is now very residential. So you have to think about that, and perhaps some trucks coming down that street that you may not want to have coming down that street. If you think, even if a nano brewery, you know, you're talking about, think about a Budweiser truck, if you would. So you don't want those kinds of traffic going down there. I don't think that the people that live there would really look at that. So I did do a lot of research to kind of figure that out. There were also some areas, rentals that you could get in the industrial park. So there's still plenty of places that you could, you know, move in if you want to. Now, so balancing that, make this quick, I'm sorry. So I'm balancing that against the information that I then got from the Veterans Office and from the Council on Aging. And basically, the Council on Aging was very, very pleased to hear that there would be some opportunity for some of the seniors to move in there. They did say that they do have a waiting list for seniors right now, and that the veterans also, let me see what they said. He says that he gets calls about senior housing for veterans at least once or twice a week. So literally every 55-plus client that they have who receives Chapter 115 financial assistance from the office would actually qualify for over 60% of these units. So if you look at that, the fact that it's really not the right kind of building, if you would, for industry, is not quite appropriate based on the trends of business right now against all the beautiful, wonderful things that it's going to bring. I think it's sort of a, you know, kind of speaks for itself, but I did want to address the industry issue that came up. So based on that, I hope that people will vote favorably for this. So I make a motion.
You already did.
You ready to go?
You already did. So the motion's on the floor, so thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other concerns or comments, Council Prego?
Thank you, President Cook. I will be supporting this motion. I found that it seems every time we have a public hearing and then we finally get to vote on it, it seems so long, so far away. But there were many of the residents in the neighborhood, long-term residents, who came out to find out more information. And in the interim, they've lived in that neighborhood through many facets of what this building has been. You know, it was industry, and then we had different businesses that lived in there and all sorts of different things. I think that most of their concerns were addressed by the management company, who are limited by their funding. Whatever funding they have to get, what they're borrowing is managed, like they have to manage that building for like the next 50 years. So I think they felt pretty comfortable with that. In addition to that, with it being a 55-plus community, it won't be a burden on Willett Elementary School that's right there, or the future, or Brennan, or the high school. So I look forward to this. I think that I think it'll be a great asset to the city, and I think that any individuals in the 55-plus community need a nice place to go. And if you've seen any of these buildings in other communities, which I've had the opportunity, they're beautiful, and they also have waived lists to get into it because they do such a nice job. And the concerns that people had about the care and upkeep of the building after it's been built, they're comfortable with that. So that makes me comfortable with it. So you do have my support tonight, Councilor Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, the timeframe on this between when we had the hearing when we were voting on is only about 5 weeks, so it's a lot more rapidly than normal.
It's pretty good, but it's still
Any other
so
concerns
far
or
away.
comments? Council Hagney and then Council Conti.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I actually drive by on my way to work every morning, and it's a pretty quiet area. My concerns were flooding in the area, and I know it'll go to the planning board, and they'll address those issues. So I have been going down there, scoping out the area to see, and even with the industrial, I've been talking to different neighbors, so I'm going to be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to show that there's entropy in the universe, I too spoke to neighbors and got a totally different opinion than my Councilor Parika.
Fascinating.
I will be opposing this motion for a very simple reason. I'm going to speak slowly so that Ken can get this verbatim into the minutes of this session, because I wish to review these later. Once rezoned for residential use, the actual implementation of this factory can change. It does not have to be senior housing. It is not zoned for 55 plus. Attleboro does not have a zone for 55 plus. So once the city council strips this building's ability to provide jobs for the citizens of Attleboro in the area, it becomes residential. It can become residential anything. The people in the neighborhood who have lived there for many years and who are new residents to the neighborhood always thought that that would be a factory. Never dreamed that it would be a residential location. And that's all I'm going to address, because that's all that's in front of the council. This historic factory, the Watson Silver Company, is a very important part of Attleboro's past, and the building's been kept very well. It could be a very important part of Attleboro's future on an industrial scale. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Councilor Delicio, and as this involves a rezoning, a 2/3 vote is required for passage.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
10 yeas, 1 nay.
the motion passes. Anything else, Ms. Hall?
No, I would like to ask for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Conti.
Did ordinances and election cancel?
No, yeah, we're only doing those that have business this evening during special meeting like that. We do not have it.
From the reporting for the capital improvements and city development, from the docket of June 7, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $132,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to Fund 3321 Blake's Pond Dam for the design of a new dam at Blake's Pond to replace the current dam, which is over 50 years old and shows signs that trigger replacement.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President. This 50-year-old dam was patched with a temporary dam 2 years ago, which is now showing signs that it could fail. This Blake Dam's pond is responsible for funneling 2 million gallons of drinking water a day through the Wading River filter beds. It's an important part, an important element of Attleboro's water system, and I urge my fellow councilors to support the enactment of this appropriation. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments, Vice President Denley?
Yes, Mr. Conti, were you able to get, last time we discussed this, I asked you if you were able to find out if these were going to come down as future bonds, because they're just designs right now, and if there was an intention to bring down bonds, whether they would come from water, wastewater, or whether they'd be citywide. Were you able to? I'll support it either way, but I think that's important for us to know what's kind of coming down the road.
I apologize, Councilor Denley. You did make that request, and I failed to do the research.
It's okay.
I do believe that this is coming from retained earnings, that it's not to be bonded, because that's what the request is. And
What I'm asking, if I may, is down the road, so like we will have to fix this because it's super important because it filters all of our water. So when that big multi-million-dollar amount comes down, if, I don't know, maybe Mr. Lacasse be the person to talk to, just figure out if they're gonna bond it, which I assume they are, and then if it's gonna be an enterprise fund bond, or if it's so big, or if there's some exception and it has to be a city-side bond.
actually, I think you may be confusing motions. You may be talking about Luther Dam rather than Wading River. Because I believe in Wading River, all there is the Blake Dam and the 2 filter beds. And that essentially constitutes the entire project at Wading River. The Luther Dam, however, which is the next motion, talks about a design phase, which will eventually lead to a large bond. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you there either. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Councilor Blair?
Just a point of information, any of those wastewater or water projects, that becomes a bond to the enterprise system. We were involved, Jeremy, when we redid the sewer wastewater, which was $30 million plus, and that is a bond attached to wastewater and affects the rate. These water projects will be attached to the enterprise water system when and if they're bonded.
Any other concerns or comments? Councilor Cooper?
Council Conti, if you want me to do it myself, just say so, but if you could, while you're researching, if you could ask Gary for if there's any updates to the dam report that was done many years ago by CDM, because I'm seeing a lot of requests to fix dams, all necessary, but I would like to see where when we paid CDM to do that many years ago, it's called the dam report. I couldn't find it at home. I looked. If I keep looking, I may find it, but, and Gary will know what you're talking about, and you can both laugh at the name of it, as we all did.
Yes.
But it rated the priority of the condition of the dam. It also talked about what things at that time, and it was several years ago, could be done as short-term fixes. And I think that there was some looking at that, a relook at some of that. But we got 2 here. We talked a couple weeks ago about doing Dodgeville. There's one behind Alvides place that's city-owned. I just think maybe time to look at that again.
Councilor Conti?
Yes, in addition to the dam report, the state has changed its criteria for what is safe and what is not safe, which has caused a whole nother wave of investigation to dams as small as the Farmer's Pond, which is just a trickle. So I will, on your request, and I will contact Gary, and you don't need to do that yourself. I promise you I will do it. And it's just been a busy week.
No, I completely understand.
These are good questions, and to Council Blaze's comments, I believe he's totally correct. But it would be nice just to get verification from the auditor, and that's what you're looking for, and I will get that. I promise you I will. It's just not going to happen for tonight's vote. I'm sorry.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the document of June 7, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $177,900 from account 6100-359000 Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to Fund 3322 Luther Reservoir Dam for the Phase 2 design and rehabilitation of the Luther Reservoir Dam.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, this dam feeds directly the Manchester Reservoir through 2 large, I think they're 24-inch conduits that run all the way from the dam to the Manchester Reservoir. And the Luther Reservoir Dam is an earthen dam, which in its very base is driven steel piles that is over 50 years. At the side where the pumping station is, water enters the pumping station. There's 2 large pumps in there. The pumps transfer the water, and the sluice gate that's there, it's called a Bastille Gate, is simply by raising planks and 2 pairs of slots. It's rather archaic, no longer accepted by the state, Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So in the dam report and the subsequent standards changing the dams, this one is right at the center of discussion. And I urge councilors to appropriate the $177,900 from the enterprise fund retained earning. That's why the dollars are there, and it's an important and necessary design stage for what will be a larger bill to reconstruct the dam. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter also requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, that concludes the business the Capital Improvements and Cedar Development Committee has to bring before the council this evening. We look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Hagan?
Thank you. Reporting for budget and appropriations from the docket of June 7th, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $19,595.05 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Citywide Other Financing Uses, and further transfer $19,595 from account Citywide Other Financing Uses to fund Mass Works Other Financing Sources for additional funding for Fund 3532, Mass Works, for project-related expenses not eligible for reimbursement from the Commonwealth.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
I do.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I've been busy, but I find I give up my lunch break at work to answer questions from Councilor Conte. So Councilor Conte, your questions that I did get some answers to, and Deb Gould, the project is under the Mass Works Infrastructure Program, a division of the Executive Office of Housing Economic Development. The expenses were incurred in fiscal year 15 and invoiced to the city in fiscal year 2016, which would affect the city's June 30th, 2016 balance sheet. This particular grant isolates its funding to a fiscal year. Historically, in her experience, grants were awarded for projects and the fiscal timing was not a problem. In this case, it was a problem. So that's why, so I did follow up and answer your questions, Councilor.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Councilor Parika?
I also followed up with her as well, and I know one of the questions was if this was part of the Lamb Street, and there was some discussion about that. Because when I take a no vote, I'd like to let you know why I'm taking a no vote. I'm not supporting this because the state changed their mind in the middle of doing all their stuff, and that, typically grants were, this one became, all of a sudden they changed their policy in the middle of it. So as my personal little stance, I'll be voting no.
And as I said, this didn't originate from me,
No.
so I'm just a facilitator. So I always say I don't take it personal and no vote. So
That's fine.
Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter requires a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
No.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
Motion passes.
So Ken, I gave before I call for next committee meeting the budget discussion, and he is sending out the new meeting schedule that I also tried to get done on my lunch break again today, to move forward with discussion. And I had called back a few departments. That's why I do apologize that I had to get up, but I had to catch Ken. because I wasn't sure what departments might be affected with cuts, so I wanted to make sure I called them back in as I gave them fair warning. But it was beneficial, I believe, to even have them come in to see their requested budgets, to see how they operate. And now, even with the cuts, they can explain further their budgets, so it'll be good to understand further. And I would like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds.
Reporting for city property and claims from the docket of June 7th, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $713.73 from account 116-11000-530840 to account 116-11000-542020 for city clerk Stephen Withers to purchase a new timestamp.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Anybody have any comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Parika?
Yes.
Vice President Finley?
Yes.
Mrs. Hegney?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
That's it for city property and claims this evening, but I'd like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Cooper.
Thank you. Reporting Personnel and Human Services from the docket of June 7, 2016. I move to approve the mayor's request to authorize the school department to pay fiscal year 2015 previous year school bills totaling $868.66 as identified in Mr. Furtado's communication.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, we talked about this last week. It's a previous year bill. That's why it has to come here.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services, but call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you. Reporting for Public Works. From the docket of June 7, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to appropriate $48,750 from Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to account Water Enterprise Fund AC unit for the replacement of the air conditioning unit at the water treatment plant.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
Just that this is additional funding that's needed to replace the main electrical, the AC unit in the main electrical room.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? Concerns? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 7, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to transfer $350 from the Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund to account Water Enterprise Fund Insurance for the anticipated insurance endorsement for the new water storage building.
Second?
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments?
It speaks for itself. It's for the insurance for the new building.
Okay. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Vice President Denley?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
11 yeas, no nays.
The motion passes.
Thank you. I move to approve the mayor's request to approve a 20-year, 240-month net metering agreement with Douglas Solar LLC.
Second?
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments?
Scott Folan from the mayor's office came to discuss this agreement with us last week, answered the questions that we had, and that's it.
Does anybody have any concerns or comments? Councilor Conti.
Yes, Mr. President, I won't be supporting this measure because of the time factor of the consideration that the council's had to review this very complicated contract and the very complicated business structure of the utility that's providing the service. Together with the fact that it's a 20-year obligation to the city, I don't feel comfortable having effectively three days to look at this and decide on it. So I'm going to say no because I'm skeptical of the contract implications. and I don't appreciate the short period of time to give it consideration. And that concludes my comments.
Excuse me, did you say 3 days?
Yeah, we got it last Tuesday.
All right, it wasn't 3 days ago, but that's okay.
Well, it was 3 working
Any other
days
concerns or
because we had
comments?
3 holidays.
Any other concerns or comments, Council, please?
President Cook, I was not here during the presentation for Mr. Follen, and I haven't had an opportunity to rewatch that, so I'd like to abstain from the vote.
Not what I'm saying from a vote if you do not have a financial reason or whatever, so you need to vote on it. Any other concerns or comments?
That's fine.
Hearing now, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Council Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Mr. Perica.
No.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
No.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
8 yeas, 3 nays.
motion passes.
That's it, Mr. President. I do not have any other business this evening, but I would like to call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have reporting for Public Safety and Emergency Management. I have 2 motions this evening. From the docket of June 7, 2016, I move to approve, in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro, the mayor's request to expend $25,000 in community compact program grant funds and any future grant amendments for the city to seek accreditation for the Attleboro Police Department. There is no matching requirements for this grant.
Second.
Thank you, the motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
We discussed it in committee, Mr. President.
Okay. Are there any other concerns or comments? Council Reynolds?
I just have this is to once again accredit the police department.
It's accreditation and it's true.
Have they ever been, I mean, this has been something that's been going on.
No.
No, they've never, ever been accredited, but
I'm not going to say yes.
we don't know.
Truly, no. But I don't believe so. And this is, this community compact program grant. And I don't have the backup because I had it last week. But this is this is a state grant.
Yeah.
It sets up an independent accreditation group.
We don't have to match.
And there's no matching funds whatsoever from the city.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Mrs. Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of June 7, 2016, I move to approve the mayor's request to authorize the expenditure of insurance proceeds from account 2501-220-580000 insurance, $20,000 fire capital outlay to cover the fire department's ladder 2 accident damages that will exceed $20,000.
Second.
Thank you, the motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
This is a requirement that anything over $20,000 in insurance payments has to be authorized by the council in order to use those funds.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Delicio.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mrs. Perica.
Yes.
Vice President Denley.
Yes.
Ms. Hegney.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no other business this evening, but would request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Conti, you had a new business item you want to bring in this evening?
I do, Mr. President. Entertain a motion to refer the following item to the appropriate committee for further study and recommendation. I expect the committee's recommendation on the matter to the full council for enactment to be voted on prior to July 1, 2016. The establishment under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, of an animal building revolving fund comprised of fines paid by dog owners for late dog licensing. Said fund will be annually forwarded to the mayor upon approval of the municipal council. 100% of the fund would be annually authorized to specifically, 1, fund any capital programs in the Park and Forestry Department but directly related to the animal shelter building. 2, the departmental receipts which shall be credited to the revolving fund. 3, the board, department, or officer authorized to expend from such fund. 4, a limit on a total amount of $5,000 which may be expended from such fund in the ensuing fiscal year. 5, the balance to be held for future use in this fund subject to the annual renewal.
Second.
Okay, the motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I was expecting the ordinances committee to strike the section 9-43 of the license permits ordinance that would have handled these dollars in the past and introduce this new business in time for a new direction for the funds from late dog licensing. This ordinance, this motion follows the police false alarm revolving fund 2616, where 100% of the income generated by the police false alarms goes into the expenditures by the chief of police with the approval of the mayor for needed training and equipment, etc. So this follows that thinking that isolates dog owner late dog licensing fees to the brand-new building that we just constructed, ensuring that it will get the capital improvement attention that it deserves in future generations. By assigning 100% of the dog licensing fees, which are not substantial every year, and which may be used for other things as well that are capital improvements, by the time the new roof on the animal shelter needs to be replaced, of which time I think all present councilors will be duly expired.
Speak for yourself. 20 years, I hope I'm here.
It should last 50 years, but
Some of us are younger than you.
the money may be there to actually replace the roof, and that's what the thinking is behind the ordinance. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Councilor Delisia.
The ordinance committee has been looking into this. There has been work going on. There's also been conversations with you on it. So to hear your concern is interesting at best. That's fine. I support this piece of new business as it is something that I've been working on as well. At which point, Mr. Cook, I would like to ask if we could go first next week, because I would like to ask the city auditor as well as Barry to come down should you put this in my committee.
Okay. Actually, the council cannot create revolving funds. This is a function of the administration, so this will be referred to the administration anyways, if it passes. Okay? Any other concern? Yes, Councilor Kuba.
So I'm a little confused, because we just got all the accounts,
The revolving funds. Yeah.
accounts. I just want to make sure that I'm clear before you refer this in the right direction, or in a direction you see fit. Is this replacing the existing animal shelter? Would this, if the mayor so chose to make this a revolving fund, replace the existing animal shelter revolving fund? Because if that's the case, then I wouldn't support this, because the money from the existing animal shelter revolving fund goes for things like purposes of direct services for care of animals such as medical treatment, spay and neutering of animals, and food for animals. Building maintenance, facility care expenses, and salary and wages are prohibited. But I don't see those other things, the first things, the important pieces around animal care in this, if this replaces that, or is this a new one?
The one that came down tonight is the existing one. This is a proposal for a new one, but again, we cannot create revolving funds. It's an administrative function.
Okay.
So I think it would be up to the administration to see whether or not they want to merge it with the other one, create a new one, or whatever.
Thank you for the clarification.
It's a function of administration, yes.
Thank you. Councilor Cooper had the same question I was going to ask you is, what was the, and I know you're probably going to refer to it, but what's the, I kind of understand your purpose of what you're doing, but as Councilor Cooper said, are you deleting what we have and taking that and putting that in? What is the, I'm a little confused.
If it may, that's wouldn't really be his call in terms of replacing, that would be up to the administration.
No, I understand that, but before we vote on it, I would like to know your intent, the purpose and the intent.
My intent was to give this to the municipal council for consideration so that the administration would understand my position of where the dog licensing fee should go. It's that simple.
I should add that periodically, if I may, and this may help to clarify, I know one of the things that periodically on the council that we have discussed in the past when we have had certain building projects. You know, the animal shelter being brand new, we know that's going to wear out one day. We had a very similar conversation when we had appropriated the money to build the new athletic facility at the high school. That is, we know that these things are going to wear out over time. And one of the concerns, and I don't mean to be putting the words into Mr.
You're
Connie's
doing
mouth.
an excellent job, because I was going to go there and decided not to. I'm glad you are.
However, I mean, one of the things that, and maybe it comes with chairing that committee, because I chaired for 4 years myself, is that you start to look at when we do things, and I've always been a firm advocate, and I know Mr. Blair also, that if we're going to build it, we need to take care of it. And the question comes down to, we know that things are going to wear out. We know that historically, when things start to wear out, we don't always have the money to replace them in a timely manner. And that's how, in years gone by, we got behind on a lot of, in the past, a number of projects within the city, be it replacing vehicles, so that, as Mr. Blair and Ms. Jackson remember, because we were wrestling with this early in our careers, we were, by we, I mean the city, when it was paying, continued to pay for vehicles that had been bonded that were no longer on the road. So the idea of trying to set up some sort of a mechanism to set aside money to take care of a particular new item, so that when the time came to replace it, there would be funds available, has been something that we have periodically as a council. And I would say even as the administration, for some discussions, talked about how do we go about doing this, as opposed to just figuring when the need arises, the money will be there. Is that
Well
succinctly say what you said?
Well said.
Thank you. And he and I have had conversations along this in the past. So I think that's where he's coming from. Councilor Cooper.
I won't continue to beat it to death, except to say that I was not opposed, and I'm not opposed to a fund like this or augmenting what we already have, but I think it's important to make sure we continue to include the things that we currently fund through that, and also include this, whether that's increase the dollar to X or whatever that is. I'm in support of including all of the things that you have in this business in the one that's there, or creating a new one for that purpose, whatever somebody decides. But so I will support it, and I think it's a good idea, and we should be doing more of it to protect the citywide assets as we start to build and rebuild these things. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Prickett and Councilor Delacio.
Just out of curiosity, do you have a number on how much we normally bring in from? Do you have a dollar amount?
The last time I talked to Betty Shockrow, she said that we were licensing over 350 dogs, the most ever that she recalled, and that the late license fees were, and just strictly by memory, $35 or $3,600.
Okay.
That's what my memory
Seems
was.
right.
Mr. Withers?
I was going to say, that's probably pretty close to being correct, Mr. Conley, because I'm thinking today is the deadline, tomorrow starts late fees, and there may even be more than that. There has to be at least, we're up to like 3,850 dogs registered. Last year we registered 4,400. So there's about 500 that aren't, some are deceased, obviously. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, somewhere in that range every year. So.
Mr. Delacio, and then Mr. Delacio, and then Ms. Hagan.
So just a little clarification too. The piece of business that's in the ordinance committee right now, this account is set up for the construction to aid the construction of the animal shelter. It's already constructed. Part of the work that has been going on is the original business was just to strike that. If we struck that as it is, all the funds that are already in that account would then go over to the general fund. This way here, in order to protect and preserve the funds that are in there, we had to ensure that we had all of our T's crossed and I's dotted to ensure that once we get that account set up, this new account, however it's going to look, whether it's an amendment or whatnot, that those funds are preserved. So I'm in full support of this business as is evidenced by our committee meeting several weeks back where we discussed this openly on the floor. Thank you.
Council Hagley?
I did mention this number way back when we first had discussion. I had shown, it was actually a lot higher, because we were astonished that it was actually higher.
I think it's like 12,000, but it might have been 2 years, so 6,000 seems inappropriate for every year.
Because I did mention it during the discussions, because I did research that also. It's a lot higher than that. Because I was, whoa, so.
It's in there right now.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments or concerns, this matter requires a voice vote. The voice vote is to accept this new business, and no vote is not. So, everybody ready for the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed, and we're referring that to administration. That's all the business before the council for this evening. Please remember to pick up your notice for the special meeting on the 14th. By the way, I will be calling for special, I know it's not with Ken, we will be getting other notices for special meetings during the third week and the last week in June. I'm envisioning at least 3 more special meetings beyond the one I'm talking this evening. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed to adjourn at 8:18. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for having a special meeting.
Yeah, it was a lot higher, 'cause when I showed her, I was like, whoa.